might seem like a short intro because it took a while to go live. So welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm Lynn Serrano, and I'm sending it to you.
Yeah, I'm Scott Jones. You're watching the Lynn and Scott and Friends show, and we've got lots of friends. We got Sandy, we've got Debbie, we've got Barry, we've got, of course, two hips, Scott, and we've got John with us. And of course, you never know who else is going to join in. But guys, thanks for all being here once again on a Tuesday night. Once again, proving they still haven't scheduled any good TV shows on a Tuesday night. So you guys, we're so glad you guys are all here. I guess we get with this. First of all, who's going to own this topic? Whose was this? Was this?
I just heard it for the first time today on a show, an old show. Can't even tell you the name of the show. My dad watches it. Some attorney, and he's got a butler, and I don't know. I don't remember. It's an old show. And
okay, so apparently we're getting this show from Benson, which takes us back a little ways, doesn't it? Robert Guillaume. Anyway, never trouble till trouble troubles you, and she sells seashells by the seashore. This proverb encourages individuals to avoid unnecessary anxiety by not excessively worrying about hypothetical or future troubles. It suggests it's more productive to address problems when they actually manifest themselves rather than expending energy on worrying about what might happen.
Or what might not happen.
Or what might not happen,
right,
exactly.
Might not, right.
All of
this show's over.
Yeah. The solution, knock that shit off and stay in today.
There you go. Done. Okay, solved.
Really, the bottom line is this is something I think a lot of people get involved in it's projecting troubles before they actually occur. And in many cases, what people don't understand is that when you project that much and you're worried about it, many times we manifest troubles that never would have happened if we weren't worried about them. Here's the guy who's you're dreaming about a yacht and you're thinking about fixing a hole in a yacht that you haven't bought yet while your rowboat is sinking because you're not paying attention to what you're doing. Pay attention to what you're doing. Be present. Be certainly mindful of what is really going on with you. I guess the best way I could describe this is if I'm standing on a piece of wood that's a 1x1 square piece of wood, and somebody puts it on the ground and I stand on it, I'm fine. Somebody puts that same piece of wood 30 feet in the air and I'm standing on it. Now I'm absolutely insanely crazy. And it's not because my stance has not changed, my stability has not changed. The only thing that has changed is my perception about what might happen. If I could control that perception of what might happen, I won't have those anxieties. I won't have all those things. Be mindful of where you are. Realize that tomorrow hasn't happened yet. The problems of tomorrow haven't arrived yet. Certainly if I know something might become a problem down the road, if I know that, listen, that wire's looking corroded, maybe I should replace it now, then do that. But we're talking about when you actually start living in a problem that hasn't occurred yet, that's when you really start to lose perspective on what's going on. And then even though that 1x1 square piece of wood has got the same stability, the same square inches and everything else as the other piece of wood, we're going to fall because we're going to create that in our minds.
And
so
Scott,
be careful about that. Yes.
I think that this is a problem in a lot of people when they start dreaming. They all of a sudden get in trouble because they're thinking of troubles that haven't started yet. And I think if people would be more mindful of how they start manifesting and thinking that there's trouble before they even start because they've heard other stories, I think that we would see so many more people succeed and prosper and have a better life because of all the woulda, shoulda, couldas, and they didn't live their life, and then there becomes a lot of regrets. So,
every day I walk through the house and I got a cup of coffee in my hand and I've got maybe a little piece of avocado toast in the other hand, and I maneuver away around my damn cat and I find my way to the sofa and I sit down. I'm perfectly fine. But every time I get that coffee, it's just a little bit fuller than normal. All I keep thinking about is don't spill, don't spill, don't spill. And all of a sudden, I feel like I'm Joe Cocker trying to handle something fragile, It's just shaking all over the place. I'm spilling. I create these problems.
Mhm.
I create these problems. You know,
Yep.
our stability is in our ability to be exactly where we are at the exact moment. And if you can maintain that stability, you're not looking for trouble. You're not creating trouble where trouble doesn't exist. That's my take on it. I'd love to open it up to everybody else. And I do love you guys.
We'll start with Barry. How about that?
Yes, he's in the middle. Go, Barry.
Mister, don't look for
The-
trouble for being Dr. Love.
It's the love doctor.
The center square, right? Boy, so much to play with this. There is the thing about people have a tendency, as you were saying, you know, like the idea of when people go on social media and do doom scrolling, they're looking for bad things to feel worse about life. It's all about direction, really, because you can have affirmations and focus where you want to go, but most people will do what I would call fuckamations, to use my French. They're looking for negative things. They're negatively affirm what they don't want. And the truth is that most trouble is not an existential thing that happens. It's what we think about enough times that we reinforce the belief, and then it shows up in reality. What you were saying exactly, that thing with the coffee. I mean, I know as soon as I fill something to the brim, it's almost like I know it's going to spill, so I don't fill up to the brim. So you get proactive and don't fill up that way. So you learn ways around it. But the truth is, for life in general, I mean, talking about relationships, is my area of work. So many people are settling in their relationships because they're afraid to go for what they really want. They don't believe they can have it. So in life in general, just expand it out that way, most people in general are thinking negatively about their own lives because if something happened to somebody else. I mean, right now we've got the strike out here with the actors' strike as well as the writers' strike. There's a lot of people being impacted by that. But the thing is, what's happening for a lot of people is they're thinking the world's coming to an end versus it's something that's containable. Yes, there's a lot of things that need to be fixed. I'm not negating anyone's experience in this. Got a lot of friends of mine are in the industry. But the truth is also, it's not the end of the world. So
well, let me ask you as a love doctor. Let me ask you as a love doctor in relationships, because you mentioned relationships.
Yes.
Don't you think trouble gets a bad rap sometimes, though? Because what I know is that, you know, from in my past, I've had healthy relationships. Well, you know, maybe one, but you know,
get to be good. Yeah.
But what I found was that trouble could either tear you apart because you're hiding from it, running from it, scared of it, or trouble can bring you together as in, hey, let's go do this together. Let's go deal with this. So I think sometimes trouble gets a bad rap in itself, doesn't it? Especially in relationships.
Well, in that context, I mean, in my early dating life, like way back when I was in my teens and early 20s, whenever there was trouble in the relationship, an argument, upset, discord, I would quit the relationship because I believed back then that love didn't allow trouble in it. It's like basically a relationship had to be love only. If there's any trouble, it's over. That was the way I was wired because the way I was brought up by my family. That's a whole other story about upbringing. But yeah, it's true. We do that. And one of the things I heard, who was I listening to? Somebody talked about this recently and they really got the idea about it. I don't think it was in the show. Somebody else, I believe, I could be wrong, about when you have an argument with somebody, don't do it this way. Do it this way. Meaning that when you have an argument, don't face each other because you tend to exacerbate and increase the problem because you blame the other person without thinking about it. If you do it side by side, face the same direction, the problem becomes out there. So you can actually both deal with the problem. So even that physiological shift can make a difference. Well, but yes, people in a relationship tend to, because the thing is, when it's a relationship is two people in a relationship, if it ain't me and I don't blame myself, I'll blame the other person. So trouble tends to be it's in a closed circuit. So you got to definitely watch what you think about yourself and your partner.
Wow.
I think it's funny because you could do something as small as a cup of coffee and fill it up or live on the edge by, defeating your thoughts and changing and just that little shift in taking, that's not going to kill you if you do spill it. But like having the confidence that you're not going to, and that, hey, I deserve that extra sip, like it's such a great analogy.
Absolutely. Yeah. Who wants to go next?
Well, I guess I'm going next. So what I was thinking about.
Thanks for being here, Sandy. Appreciate you.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here tonight. I'm dog sitting, so if you see dogs running around, so staying in the present. And as he was talking about relationships, my last type of relationship, I was trying to stay in the present, but that person couldn't stay in the present with me. They kept going ahead and they kept going to the past. Do you know what I mean? They were going in the back and they were going in the front, and they couldn't just sit in the present with me. And so it caused a lot of issues. You know, they were creating the problems in it. And I'll be honest, that's why it ended, is because I was like, can we just not define this and stay in the present and get to know one another? And the person just kept pulling things from the past and trying to make things for the future. And so that it just makes so much sense with relationships, you know. And I have a lot of experience in different offices I've worked in, of anxiousness. You know, people, that's what they do. They ruminate on the anxiousness of a situation, and they just can't let it go. You know, it can't be resolved. You know, sometimes problems there's no solution. And some people can't let go of that. They can't let go that there's not a solution. So I feel like that's how they ruminate on it. And it can cause a lot of mess. So, you know, staying in the present and not trying to force something and not trying to force a solution, I think is where you find your peace and your center. So that's my 2 cents.
I love it.
I love
Jen.
that.
Love it.
That's awesome. I keep going in and out. So maybe I'll say what I want to say before the storm takes me out. But you know what I was thinking, and you guys all kind of know me now, so you'll appreciate this, but our listeners may say, what the heck? Never trouble until trouble troubles you. And I keep having this visual in my head of a guy looking at another guy saying, you talking to me? You got a problem with me? You got a problem with me? And then the other guy being, yeah, I think I do. And then lights out, you know? So it's like, don't go poking around in trouble that's not already your trouble. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. 100.
I mean, even you guys look like a deer in the headlights. Like, and
No.
I'm like, am I
No.
freezing?
100.
No, you know what? I had something like that happen at work today where somebody did not call who usually calls, and they hadn't called in over a week. And this is somebody that we rely on in our business, and it's an important person. And my business partner was like, well, they must be mad about this and this and this and this. And he started creating all this drama and trouble around a situation. Instead, when it turns out, not an hour later, we got a message about a fiance being sick. So sorry he couldn't be in touch and this and that. And it's like, but the trouble, we brought it already. So we experienced the anxiety. We experienced all that stuff. We damn near got to the point of calling and saying, what's your effing problem? And
We all do that. I mean,
Yes.
where you're like, oh my God, she didn't call me back. Something's really wrong. And it's like, get off the hamster wheel, Debbie. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
So funny.
it's a game show. Let's make a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Then let's find the problem on Find It tomorrow with Debbie.
Yay. Come join us. Come see us. Jennifer Gittimer.
Oh, Deb, whoops, I did this really quick. Find Your Fabulous too. So, Mr. Scott, Hipster.
I think it all comes down to choice. You know, why would you want to find trouble? Why would you not find either a learning event or something positive out of it all? You know, it's funny. That's why even when you said the topic before we fired off the way too short intro, you know, was how do we go about really addressing all this stuff, you know, without, why do we have to have trouble? Why do we need to have it in our lives? It's interesting doing that summit with Rex, and you know, it's called Stop Worrying, Stop Struggling, Stop Suffering. And just after recording that summit, it's like so many things have been different because I actually listened to what I said, novel concept, you know, and really taking that and putting it into practice. But I mean, there's so much stuff going on these days. I mean, my goodness, you could get it. You know, what makes you happy? I was saying somebody about this background. I've gone to this background in all my business meetings and all my different stuff. Why? Because it's my happy place. It's like the place that I enjoy the most. Why not look at it all day long? Why would you sit and do something else, right? Why not choose the things that make you happy? Choose the things that fulfill you, choose the things, as opposed to all the different stuff. Somebody doesn't call. Guess what? They didn't call. Okay. It's not like the phone doesn't work both ways, and it's not like you can't make a gazillion other calls, or it's not like I'm not on a gazillion other calls all day. Gosh, it's one less call. Okay, I'm good. It's where do you choose to put your focus? WTF, right? Where's your focus? Where's the focus?
That's what WTF is. I've been wondering.
WTF.
Yeah, I
Where's
love
the
it.
focus?
I love it.
Scott, don't you think though, is as a whole, when we look at things, we're almost trained to look for the flaw before we look for the positive side. We see a piece of paper with a little dot on it. Everybody looks and says there's a mark on the paper, and nobody recognizes the fact that the rest of the paper is clean and white and bright and nice. Do you find that to be the case, or am I overstating it?
No, I think that there are a lot of people trained to find the negative, or to identify the problem, quote unquote. I mean, it's like, and I've done it on this before. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. What's missing? Nothing. Everything that's there is there. But we're conditioned to say the number 5 wasn't in sequence. Well, yeah, that's something that you learn, but the reality is you only find things that are missing if you're looking for things that are missing.
Right.
What if everything in life is full? What if everything is positive? What are you learning from different things? I mean, we laugh at our puppies, 14 months old now, but we were just watching Stars on Mars for a few minutes, and they've got robotic dogs, and he's barking at the robotic dogs. I said, these aren't even real dogs. What are you pissed about? I mean, my God, why are you barking at a robot dog? But I mean, it's funny how but that's where it comes into choice. Are a lot of people trained that, but if you can be trained to spot the negative, could you be trained to spot the positive? Go around finding good with everybody you work with all day. Go around and say, hey, it just was really great. Hey, I just appreciate you sending me that text earlier. It's the 14th text you sent me today. Thanks. I appreciate your stick-to-itiveness. It's how you take all the stuff.
Well, you said it right. The first thing you said was it's a choice. You have a choice. And if you want to be a positive person, you have a choice to practice positivity and to practice doing those things. Are we perfect all the time? Of course not. You stub your toe at 2 a.m. It's hard to be positive about that shit. It happens, and you're going to yell and scream and curse and break the table, and maybe that's just me. But it's you just don't know. But you're right. It is an absolute choice. And people who feel like they're stuck in misery and in anger and stuck in anxiety and all those things, you're not at all. So I appreciate the fact that you started with that. It's your choice to do that.
It's your choice.
I love you, Scott, and thank you for that. It's funny because I love listening to people, and I always love to find, when I'm listening, I'm always looking for the bright side of the story they're telling me, and I remind them of the bright side things because it to even it out and give them a different perspective. So I love that. Yep. And Mr. Hipster has a great mastermind on Mondays that I hope when I get back to my regular programming, I'll be there. But you guys have more information you want to know about that, hook me up because it's a great place to be on Mondays.
We have a lot of fun.
Yes. Mr. John.
Hey, you know what? And I think it's vibe with your tribe, man. Hang out with positive people. You want to hang out with negative people? That's going to be your day. And it was funny because I was honored to have Deb on, and I think she might have just left because she heard me talk enough with her today, so she figured she'd jump before I spoke. I brought up manifestation, and I'm not big into that cult crap, and this is horse shit and everything else. And all of a sudden, I did a class in Colorado called Ninja, and it's Yeah, we know, Deb.
You see, John was trying to get trouble where trouble wasn't needed.
That's right.
Exactly.
See?
Right.
I did that as an example. Thanks
That
for
was an
bringing that up,
example.
Lynn.
So thank you for that.
So we were talking. I do a motivational 15-minute call every Tuesday with my team. There's probably 35, 40 people on there. We were talking about, and Deb was kind enough to come on, and she dragged it out to an hour. But what she did,
That's a gift. That's a gift.
what she did for 45 minutes is I brought up the manifestation part of it. And of course, you have Instagram and TikTok and all that stuff. But when you start liking it, obviously their algorithms bring that to you. And the point is everybody that does this, whether it's Kevin Hart, whether it's Deb or Lynn or Scott or Barry or Sandy or Scott, it happens. It's not just me saying it. So the people that are doing it are successful. So you read that and you go through it, and it takes you, 20 minutes in the morning to get your mindset. And when that shit starts, man, and a lot of people will not jump on that bandwagon. Deb came on, talked about her career, what she's done, how that's worked for her all day long in the office from a minute after that call, all day long. The mood in the office changed. And I know that will change going forward because not only I said it, now I had Deb, and they've looked her up. They got her on YouTube. They got her on everything else. And it really is. I got a guy in the office that's just a pain in the ass. And you know what? He hangs out with pains in the ass. You're never going to change. You got to change your mindset, change your focus. If you're in sales, you wake up every day at zero. You're every day I don't care what you did yesterday. You wake up every day at zero and make yourself a little better today. Kobe Bryant always said it. Wake up. Take a look at yourself. Mel Robbins, and I do it every morning now that I saw it. High five yourself in the mirror because you're your biggest fan. Get up in the morning, brush your teeth, high five yourself, start your day. And when it takes about 6 weeks to form a habit, but when that 6 weeks starts, man, you feel a click in this old noggin, and your day is amazing. And you just spread that out to everybody else.
John, what I love about you is you're definitely the product of the product. And what I mean by that is, you opened yourself up to look at a different way of thinking, and you've run with it, and you live and breathe it now. And you're the energy you bring with it is just fantastic. And I love that. And it's great. I'm glad you're here.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Lynn.
I like all of that. I like everything there. And, one of the things John brought up is something that I've been working on with some people, and, I'm doing a little bit of writing about that, put it in some trainings about, not to become too dependent upon the people that you're with. A lot of people are like, well, if you're with positive people, you're going to be a positive person. And if you're with negative people, you're going to be a negative person. And don't be around toxic people. And I'm like, people aren't toxic. People aren't toxic. There are people that do things in a way that's not the way I would do them. There's people that think in a way I wouldn't think. The only way it becomes toxic is if I ingest it. Poison is not toxic unless I ingest it. People are not toxic unless I absorb their toxicity and their stuff. They're not, I want to always be careful of not saying that it's because of something else. It's always my choice. It's always my choice. No matter what is the environmentally going on around me, if I stay mindful and centered in who I am, then I'm the only one responsible for my mood. I'm the only one responsible for my attitude, and I'm the only one responsible for my happiness. And that creates a lot of freedom for me. I don't have to look around for a happy place to be, although I've got places that I connect to, just like Scott with the background there. I've got places I connect to. I connect to my art for my happiness. I connect to other things. But it generates from inside of me, and I never think that it comes from an outside source. I connect it. It's anchored to certain images and things, but it's always about me. In this whole thing about the trouble and the trouble and the trouble and the trouble, it's really
it troubled you.
It just kind of dance around. It's like, wake up in the morning. Do I want to look for shit to go wrong in my life, or do I want to look for the good stuff and do the right things? And when something occurs, listen, last week, I don't know if you guys were aware, my air conditioner broke while we were doing our show last week. So on Wednesday and Thursday, I had no air, and it was the hottest days like ever, like on the planet Earth. And so it was 98 degrees in my house Wednesday night when I was trying to go to sleep. 98 degrees, and me and my cat, we were suffering. We had a bad night. The next day, the motor came that I ordered, and I actually fixed my own home AC unit. I put a new condenser motor in it, and I got everything cleaned up, and I did all that stuff. And when I walked away, it was like I wasn't thinking about the day and a half that I spent really miserable. I was thinking about the accomplishment I just made, that I get to move forward in my life now knowing that I can fix whatever's wrong. I can, if I create the right attitude and if I make the right moves, I can do this. That's another way. If you want to stop worrying about troubled things, think about how many things you've actually been able to accomplish and realize that no matter what you face, you're going to do exactly what you can do. And there's nothing more than that. And why worry about it? Right.
You know, it's so funny. And I'll make this quick. We just moved and so whatever. So I found my box. I had 6 watches. I love watches. All of them were dead. So I was going to bring them to the jeweler. I know, all of them. I'm an idiot. And they all died at the same time. Creepy, I know. Anyway, so I called the jeweler. I asked him the watch, battery, whatever. And the back of a watch, if you've ever looked at the back of a watch, it's not easy to take off. You need a tool. So I'm like, I am the least handy person in the world. We'll get that out of the way. So I went on, I Googled how to take the back off a watch. It tells me the tool that you need. Anyway, went on Amazon, got this kit like I was taking out someone's liver. So the kit comes 2 hours later. I go to the watch, the battery store. I didn't even know there was a battery store. So I get 6 batteries. All of them were correct, by the way. So I laid them out on the table. I have this whole surgical utensil thing going on in front of me. ESPN is on. I had a nice cold old style, best Chicago beer ever. An hour later, every watch was fixed. They give you a kit. My wife thinks I'm out of my mind. They give you this thing that holds your watch while you're doing the screw thing. And to this, you guys I can't do anything. So anyway, an hour and a half later, every watch is working. Everything was done. So like you said, Scott, I was on fire. Nobody cared. They thought I was a moron. But for me to fix 6 watches that had been dead for a year, yes. I'm wearing them all. I'm going to go put them all on. All 6 are going to be on by the end of this. But the feeling of accomplishment, Scott.
Put all 6 on. They won't think you're a moron after that. Go ahead. No. But he's a moron, but he knows what time it is in every state.
I put 6 different states. I got 6 different countries. But the feeling of accomplishment when it's done. Yeah. I was on cloud 9 all day for changing goddamn watch batteries. I didn't build a garage, but whatever it takes to make you feel good about yourself, point being, is what you need to do and ride that through the rest of the week.
Yes. So, John, something you said I want to give you some feedback on, because you said at the beginning that you're the worst handyman in the world. You couldn't fix anything. You fixed 6 watches. So first of all, change your languaging. It's not true. You are pretty good.
Oh, yeah, now I'm damn good. Now I'm damn good, Barry. Yeah. Sunday morning.
So you prove yourself wrong. That's good.
Yeah.
But the thing sorry, Lynn.
No, go ahead, Barry. Sorry.
Well, the thing is, because Scott, you were talking about worrying, and that's part of the problem with trouble is that we worry, which creates more trouble. Yeah. One of the things I love to remember hearing one of my spiritual teachers talks about this basically is worrying is praying for what you don't want. That simple.
Yes.
So if you're going to pray for things you don't want, why not pray for something you do want? Because basically, when you go to pray, you're going to pray for things you do want. But you start worrying about what you don't want, it's like the opposite effect is happening. So the biggest challenge, and I talk about this almost time on my work, is the first step is always awareness. Just to be aware of what you've been thinking, what you've been saying, what you've been hanging around with. Because when you start looking at that and going, oh, I realize now I've been thinking all this crap, and I wonder why things aren't going right. So a lot of the work is not actually mechanically out there. It's all about internal, what we tell ourselves, what we think about ourselves. So the thing about never troubles you, that framing, I got it right, is that the meaning is don't preempt and don't presume things are going to go bad before they go bad. Because if it does go bad, deal with it then.
Yes.
That's a simple answer.
Yes. Well, one of the greatest things that I ever learned about worrying is just think about it logically for a second. If you worry about something, and it doesn't happen, you've spent all that time being destructive for no particular reason.
Yeah.
And if you worry and it does happen, all the time you spent worrying about it didn't stop it from happening. The fact is, why neither one of those are constructive. You can't stop it anyway. You know, you can take it back to, when your kids first went on their first dates, well, I hope, they're home in time and they do. it's not going to stop anything one way or the other to sit there and go through all the mental gymnastics of all the crud. Life's hard enough right now. I mean, there's plenty of challenges out there. And most of those challenges are way beyond our control. And yet the worrying and the anxiousness and all that tends to be over things that we can't control anyway. Right. Well, if you know you can't control them, why are you anxious about them? You can't control them. So why not control the things you can control? This comes back to choice again. It comes back to a lot of this stuff, right? Is, somebody, we had during the pandemic, I'm sure I'm the only one, but we had a financial crunch on something, and my lovely wife said, well, aren't you worried about it? I said, what are they going to do? Come eat me? They'll have a big meal. Bring it. What's going to happen? There's only so many different things that can happen. Nobody is doing things purposely. There's nobody in the pandemic that purposely chose to have misfortune or to have different things. I mean, I can tell you the phone call that I got March 2nd, 2020, when we had a worldwide contract to train an international company that disappeared in one phone call. It was like, how'd that go?
Wow. Not
well. Wish I wouldn't have had that call. Okay, had it. Now let's figure out something else. There's nothing, there's so many things over the last few years that we haven't had the ability to control. And yet it's interesting, seemingly when we don't have control, we almost many times try to grip onto it harder to control the uncontrollable, as opposed to loosening up on all that and saying, you know what, I'm going to address the things I can. I want to be happy. It's like changing a virtual background. It's a stupid example, really. But all of a sudden I popped it up there one day and I went, I really like looking at that better than a lot of the stuff I look at. Why wouldn't I have that up there? And so again, these are the things that you can control that make your life a little bit better. I call a buddy every once in a while just to jack with him because I know that he'll respond and we'll get into this funny conversation about nothing. I sent him a text the other day that said, are you in town? He goes, why? Is the house on fire? I said, no, I was going to buy you breakfast, asshole. It just created a conversation, right? Yeah. So again, how many times could we just use a simple conversation? Scott Jones puts up a picture of Mickey Mouse. You don't have to comment on that. But why wouldn't you comment on it? Why wouldn't you give him some encouragement? Why wouldn't you say, way to go, that was freaking awesome?
Bless you, Barry.
All those kinds of things. Why don't we take the opportunity to do those things that can enhance as opposed to detract? Again, novel concept. It's a choice. It keeps on the book on a lot of this stuff is not that. That's the problem. Everybody wants to sell a 256-page book, and there's like 3 answers, and it doesn't make a 256. It's a choice. Control what you can control. Enjoy life. Okay, there's a 256-page book just with a lot of blank pages.
I
love it. I love it.
I love everything you said. I want to address Debbie's comment here, and then Barry. He mentioned the fact of being aware, but. She put here, I agree, Jonesy, but being around negative people need to be in small doses because it can definitely wear a person down. Finding your tribe is important. But I want to say that the way we look at that, we can grow so much by when there's negative people around, you're aware that, hey, that's how we thought, like Barry was saying, that's how we thought. You can also look at your gratitude and blessings that you're not like that. You can be, you're learning to not find trouble by being that way because you see what that reaction is. And so I just wanted to say that we don't have to feel like negative people bring us down. We could just be grateful that we're not at that area. And Bob Donnell.
Yes, Bob. Hey.
But the thing
meaningful
is, though,
conversation and meaningful. Amen, Scott Schilling. All right.
Love you,
right.
Bob Donnell.
I just want to say something.
I want to make a point about the comment you made about Debbie put up, and I agree with it. Listen, I don't hang around with negative people only because they annoy the shit out of me, and it's like it's boring to me. It's people who are always down are kind of boring to me and stuff. I don't like being around them. My point is for me to say that they're toxic and they're affecting me, and they're making me do things. That's where I want to draw my line and say, you know what? Even if I'm around them, I can't blame other people for how I react and act.
Right.
Scott was making a great point about things we can control and stuff. And I come from a place, an area of life with addictions and everything else where a lot of people fall into this pit of powerlessness. It's like, oh, I have no control. I got no power in my life. I can't do anything. Everything is like, I've got no power. I can't even fix myself. I've got to hope God will fix me and this will happen and that will happen. And I'm like, and I stand in front of them. I'll say, you know what? I'm powerful enough to change the weather, and I challenge anybody to challenge me on that. I could change the weather. And they say, why? And I'm like, listen, if I'm out fishing with my buddy and it's a beautiful sunny day and a cloud comes and it starts raining, my buddy gets up and snaps his pole in half and throws his tackle box in the water and says, fuck this, gets in his car and he leaves. Me, I keep the pole stuck in the ground because fish still got to eat, and I start running back and forth and sliding on the grass because I can. Because because when I was a kid, I wanted to play in the rain. That's all I wanted to do was play in the rain. And my mom says, get out of the rain. Now I'm an adult. If I want to play in the rain, I play in the rain. I change the weather simply by changing my perspective. You could change the whole world by changing your perspective. And I want everybody to know that you have all the power you're ever going to need to do anything. The stuff on the outside, it doesn't matter. It's how we see the stuff. And we get to change that any day we want, anytime. I'm sorry to cut in, Sandy. I know you wanted to.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Well, my perspective, and just going to piggy off of that, is that I like to be an atmosphere changer. Exactly what John was saying that Debbie did today is like, I like to go into those toxic places because I want to change the atmosphere because I feel like that's what's in my control is like I can go in there and be a negative Nelly if I want to and go along with it, or I can bring a different perspective and change the atmosphere because I feel like that we can control that too. And I prefer that. I know that sounds crazy. In my faith, iron sharpens iron. And also there is a scripture about worrying, and it's Matthew 6:34. That talks about not worrying about tomorrow. And so I keep those, with me, and I go, hey, I want to bring and I want to change the atmosphere, and I don't want to worry about this stuff. And let's not, I'm not a panicker. Like I'm the person that people call in a crisis situation because I don't panic. I kind of go, okay, let's do X, Y, Z, let's, code greens. I used to work in a hospital. So, we had lots of codes that we'd had to deal with. So it's kind of like, I want to be that person that's the atmosphere changer. So, I feel like that's in my control, but that's my own mindset, right? Like that's nobody else told me I was, nobody else said that this is what you do. It's really my mindset, is to not worry and go, okay, what can we do about this? And how can we change this whole feeling in the room? So that's just my 2 cents.
No, I love
it.
We haven't addressed the elephant in the room yet, though, guys. Where is Rex? Is he actually out shopping for one of those little yellow pineapple vases that Barry has on the shelf behind him? Because he's been obsessed with that for like a month.
Totally jealous.
Is that where he went? Is he shopping for one of those?
I don't know, but I hope to be live with him next week. So we'll see.
Okay.
I might have to find him.
So a couple of quick things. First of all, I'm going to quote the Gospel of Bobby McFerrin, which is basically means "Don't worry, be happy," because that's the thing. We can switch out gears pretty easily. And the thing I was going to say earlier about that being around negative people, yes, being the fire in the darkness can be a powerful energy as well. But sometimes when you're also the fire, you want to be around other fires, meaning being around the light. Yeah. So for oftentimes it's like a choice point again, awareness. So I notice I'm around people who was negative. Yeah, I'm going to go somewhere else where people are nicer because I want to spend more time with nice people. It's a choice point. And for most of us, we do have that freedom to move from something we don't want to something we do want. Yeah, life isn't perfect necessarily. You may have, ailments. You may have some bank issues. You may have other things going on. But the truth is, you can still shift how you feel about stuff. Attitude is always the key because the change of attitude changes everything else, as Scott was saying. So this journey we're talking about is really a shift of awareness, shift of mindset, shift of how we function in the world. It's easy to get caught up in the negativity because the world is very full of negative speaking people and media. But it's your choice if you want to keep sucking it on it like a teat, like sticking on the teat, like it's going to feed you, because it doesn't. Choices.
And kind of going on Scott and Sandy had said, it's almost like you want to, I don't want to say find someone that's negative, but if you can change someone's day by that random phone call or by that phone carousel. I called someone the other day, knew what her favorite song was. I didn't call, I left a video. So in the background of the video, it just happened to be her favorite song. And the effect that it had on her, I know it changed the day. And if you can bring that to one more person, if you can touch one more person, whether they're in England or they're in Clarendon Hills, Illinois, the internet and the phone and everything else gives us so many opportunity to reach out to everybody. It's not local. It's not when you were a kid and the curly phone cord would be going around the corner and you'd be ripping the wallpaper and your dad would be mad at you because you called a different area code. The power we have to have a phenomenal effect on other people around the world, I think, is absolutely untouched.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And actually, something I saw flash up on the screen from Vincent about the world is toxic. I'm going to disagree with that.
I disagree too. Yeah, go for it.
The way we treat the world is toxic. The world is not toxic itself. Frankly, if we don't do something differently on the world, we're going to be gone. The world will heal and become healthy again. So the world isn't toxic. But what happens is humanity, the way it treats the world, the way we treat each other, can be, keyword, can be toxic. So we get to choose. We can be additive to the world. I've been following the channels with, or YouTube channels that talk about renewable energy and EVs and stuff like that, because it's so much fun. But the truth is, when we do put our energy in the positive directions, we can actually make the world a paradise, because the world is that too. So perception is the key.
Well, they're equal and opposite, right?
Yeah.
There's yin and yang. So, you can say the world is toxic, and then on the other side, the world is blessed and fabulous, because it has to equal out. It's just the way the measures go. It's which side do you choose to focus on? And, the reality is every time there's good, there's less than good. Every time there's positive, there's less than positive.
Yeah,
it's all those different things along the way. It's just where do you take your focus? So that, again, to John's points, consistently, mindset, attitude, isn't it interesting? Those are two things we can control. We can't control the things that affect those things necessarily, but we can control those things. So again, it comes back into recognizing and learning, there are models, there are people that are happy for no reason, that are, that are just doing things because they like to do it. Right. And how is their life? Seemingly pretty good. Well, then why not do more of those things? It's 105 here right now. It's like been crazy. It was 109 earlier today. That's stupid. Okay, I can't control that, but I could be inside.
That's right.
So it's like, okay, it's stupid outside. I'm not going out there. My dog comes back in panting. My wife's going, "What's wrong?" I said, "He's got a fur coat on, for God's sakes." It's 109. He didn't want to be out there. So,
well, it's like I get it. You get it. You get a really cold. It's funny because we're all sitting in heat right now. It seems like it's everywhere. Just a few months ago, 6 months ago, 7 months ago, I'm sure there was a day somewhere in that area of time where we're sat there saying it's too damn cold. It's too damn cold to do anything. It's too damn cold to go outside. It's too damn, and it's like, there's always going to, there's going to be light, there's going to be dark, there's going to be cold, there's going to be hot, there's going to be this, there's going to be that. And it's like, the only thing, like Scott just said, the only thing you control is how you function within that and what you choose to do with that. I know the world seems like it's toxic. It seems like it's terrible. It's because we're kind of, the negative seems to just go to the forefront. Everybody bitches about politics. We're not going to talk about politics on this show, but I'm going to say everybody bitches about, oh, they're all crooked, they're all this, they're all that. Who put them in office? Did you go vote? Are you involved? Do you take care of business so that you can make changes? You do have power beyond the things that you do. We all have power beyond the things that we do. And kind of the adventure in life is stretching our legs and trying and seeing where our power extends to and what we can change and what we can do different. So go out there and do something. I mean, it's great to be bitching and moaning about the hot weather, but I prefer it to the cold weather. And let me tell you one last thing. I'm going to shut up because I want you guys to do your raps. But we spend all this time talking about trouble. What is the old saying? The mother of invention, or necessity is the mother of invention. And trouble is the mother of triumph. When we have troubles, that's when we triumph. When we have things, the greatest accomplishments of my life weren't accomplishments that just came and boom, I did something great. It was I was faced with a dilemma and I found a way through it. I found something. Maybe if we start looking at the gifts that are behind those problems will no longer seem like problems and they'll just become part of our situation. And it's not that big a deal. Look for the gifts. They're always there. We've all triumphed. We're all still sitting here. You guys are all still out there. So we've done something right. Stop worrying about what's going to happen next, and just know that you're prepared for it and do it. Mm-hmm. All right, I'm going to shut up now. I said enough tonight. I've had 4 cups of coffee in the last hour.
That explains it. No, but I want to see a question, Scott. That thing about triumph from trouble, it just reminded me is that the definition of a successful walker, somebody who can walk, is the person who got up one more time than they fell down. Yeah. When a baby first turns to walk, its first thing when it falls down is not to go, that's it, I give up, I'm not doing it anymore. The next thing it does, it gets up again. So we are born, we're innately as humans designed to get triumphant, to make success, to have things happen in a positive way. That's how we're wired. But then we start to believe what somebody tells us and we forget how we're wired. But the truth is we are the product of triumph after triumph after triumph. That's the good news about being human. This expression we get to play in the human world, every part of this life, no matter how good or bad it may appear, is a triumph on some level. So I say celebrate, enjoy, and learn how to play bigger and bigger all the time.
Absolutely. What do you think, Lynn? Time for wrap-ups?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Well,
we got about 12 minutes, so everybody kind of get their last thoughts in and take it where you want to take it. John, you're first.
And I think high five yourself in the mirror tomorrow, no matter where you are. That's the way to do it. Get up, be positive. It's amazing hanging out with cool people like you. It ends your night right. You start your day tomorrow. Find that negative person and see if you can change them. Don't fall into their web. See if you can change them, whatever it takes. A quick text, a quick email, staying on top of them. I find a lot of times in the sales world, the negative people are those that don't get the right coaching or support. Once they get that, you see them start to turn. Once you coach and you're with them and you're constantly with them, it just starts to make them turn. All of a sudden they turn and they bring that on to someone else. So all I'm saying is do that random phone call, do that random text, make one person feel good every day, make 5 people feel good every day. You 5 made me feel great tonight. Deb did it this morning. My shirt is wrinkled. I'm so excited. I don't know what to do with myself. I appreciate it. Scott, you said your air was out. I was going to leave and turn mine down because it's hotter than hell in here right now. But anyway, thanks for you guys. It's amazing. It's always a great Tuesday night.
Love you, John. Thank you for being here.
All right. What do you think? Sandy, there we go. You're muted.
Okay. You're muted. Here,
Right,
there we go.
Hello.
There we go.
Sorry. There were dogs grumbling. I didn't think you wanted you to think it was my stomach or something. So they're making some trouble over here. So I just think that I try to stay in the present. Staying in the present to me has been so helpful because I used to be a worrier. I used to be in anxiety. I used to have lots of troubles coming at me that I was thinking about, and I manifested them. And I now have learned that. That's, you were talking about, our gifts. Well, it's our lessons. Like everything that I went through now has a lesson to it. And it really taught me to stay in the present, because it is so important. I mean, we can't control tomorrow. We can try to do proactive things and preempt things and line things up correctly for ourselves, which is important. And I think we should pay our bills and do all those things. But as far as our emotions go, as far as circumstances go, just know that yes, tomorrow something might happen, but stay centered, stay peaceful, stay joyful. And if you wake up with the gratitude, you wake up with the centeredness and in the present, I think that helps you through. And get your resources, networking, like us all together. I love these people. They're great networking and resources. Like, I think I've used Barry's book now in the last 6 months so often. I'm like, thank you for the resources. But that's also another piece of that. You don't have to worry if somebody else is an expert in something. Pull in their expertise to do those things and to be able to speak on it and say, hey, go listen to this person. That's important too, is why worry? There is an expert out there that can help you. So that's how I want to end it.
Love you, Sandy, so much. I love you so much.
Thanks for being here, Sandy. You're awesome.
I love her. She's my lipedema sister, so I love her so much. So, all right, Mr. Scott. Oh, before that, I wanna read Debbie's. Scott, would you read Debbie's, please?
Okay, Debbie, be kind to others because you never know what people are going through. That's very true. However, it is important to be kind to yourself and not accept bad treatment. # boundaries. Yes, absolutely. And there's, you know what? There's no reason you can't have your boundaries, take care of yourself, and still be kind. But I love that. We never know what other people are going through. Debbie also said, what'd she say before that? John, thanks again for a great meeting and starting my day out awesome. There we go, John. So you made her day too, buddy.
A woman in the morning saying, thanks for starting my day out awesome. That hasn't happened to me in about 40 years. So, Deb, I appreciate that comment.
Don't see why.
Yeah, this is being recorded and broadcast.
You hear that? Some woman told me I started her day out awesome.
Now you're looking for trouble.
We're doubling down on it, too.
Trouble.
On our next show, let's all find John a new place to live.
John finds a house.
Now he knows why his boxes haven't been emptied yet.
Oh, geez.
Love you, John.
Scott.
Great topic again, as always, and a lot of fresh takes on it all and everything that happens. It comes down to making the choices that guide you on the path that you want to go on. You can make the decision of what that path is. The word decide comes from the Latin decidere, to cut off, to cut off a different choice. So when you make a decision, you can make that choice, make that decision, and go in whatever direction you want to. There's plenty of stuff, if people go, well, why is all the news so negative? Because it sells. People have this weirdly morbid curiosity over stupid stuff. Study after study shows that, unfortunately, but at the same time, we flee from pain and we strive for pleasure. We just don't strive as hard as we flee. And so that's why you see a lot of this different stuff, but be the champion of the good. Why not? I understand what the numbers are, but the numbers are going to stay that way until everybody starts to, go the other route and say, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of saying stuff. I was watching some videos today, these stop oil protesters in Europe are walking along blocking traffic. Well, yeah, they're trying to make a point about we should get rid of fossil fuels. I get what they're doing. But what about the guy or the woman who had to get to work so that they could make the money to feed their family? They're not just stopping oil, they're stopping people from living. And that's going to turn into some pretty bad stuff. And it turned it. They had some guy sitting in the road, and the guy walked up with a spray paint and spray painted their faces. He went down the line and spray painted their faces. And he said, sorry, I just don't like you sitting here, so I'm going to spray paint you.
Doing my
The
job.
retaliation, this is going to get dumber and dumber and dumber. It's not the way to go about it. That, you're working on the wrong people. It's not the people that you have the problem with. It's the politicians and the people who are making the rules you have the problem with. Identify this stuff. I just think we should all be champions of good and happy and encouragement and trying to lift people up. I think we would. I understand the studies don't say that right this second, but I think that they would if enough people would adopt it.
Absolutely. But you know what? Be the champion of your household, of your family. Be the champion of your neighborhood, your block. Be the champion at work. Those things all add up. I mean, I love this. We're protesting, fuel and the air quality and all that. So we're going to stop traffic, which means the car that was on its way to work, instead of being running for a half hour, is now running for an hour and a half. Right. So it's now created more pollution. Thank you very much. Job well done. Yeah, it doesn't even make sense.
But the other, and that part of it, and that's all true. But my immediate thought was, you've now impacted somebody's ability to feed their family.
Yeah, exactly. The wrong person.
You're now affecting somebody's kids, and you're wondering why they're pissed. Yeah. You can affect a lot of people directly, and they don't get all that angry. You start affecting their kids and their family and things like that, and that creates some real issues. Yeah. And so it's like, understand what you got the right to protest, but do it in a way that could affect some change, not cause more shit.
Yeah, exactly. What, Barry?
Speaking of shit, no.
There's a big pile on the
horse in the.
Yeah.
Couldn't resist. No.
You walked into that one, buddy.
I know I did, totally. No, so here's a couple of things. One of the things I want to say is, first of all, if you can put your hand over your heart and you feel it pumping, you've already won. So recognize the fact that when we start panicking about trouble, this and the other, as I said earlier, being human, being alive, being able to walk around is a victory. So if your heart's beating, you're doing okay. Second thing I want to say, though, quickly, is the challenge I know we have in this world is because a lot of things are controlled by money, the whole thing that's going on. I've been a fan of Star Trek since I was a kid. And Star Trek, one of the biggest premises they have is there is no money. Star Trek is based on the premise that everything's taken care of. And I suspect we're going to get to that point. We're going through a dark night of the soul, so to speak, right now. And this feels pretty bad about certain things. But I have a firm belief that we'll get to a place where that sort of idea, where we'll have freedom from those sort of limitations, will happen. Where we have a chance to actually be human, be interactive, be successful, be exploratory. Star Trek to me is where I think we're affirming that humanity can go to. That's my belief anyway. So there.
So that's why you watched it. You weren't watching it because every alien creature was a beautiful woman in a miniskirt. You weren't watching it for that reason.
Most of them weren't.
That was a happy byproduct.
Except for the Tribbles.
Oh, the Tribbles. There we go.
Trouble with Tribbles. That was the episode. The Trouble with Tribbles.
All right, people. This is. I'm glad I saw this, and I maybe by next week, if I see the show tomorrow morning, I got to find out the name of the show and tell you where I saw this episode. But I'm glad I brought that up. Scott, usually I give credit to all the topics usually come from Scott. So Scott's been very busy, and so I'm glad we went along with this title. And as always, you guys are such a great panel. We are so blessed, are we not, Scott?
Oh, I mean, every time we log on and this starts, I have that momentary pause, like, this is amazing. This is amazing. And it's not just amazing. It's like, thank you for coming out for me. And you're not doing, it's amazing that people across the country can connect, take a little time, share their experiences, share their knowledge, and just share good humor. and not be offended by each other and not try to turn everything into a battle and not everybody having to be right.
Yeah.
And I love that. And hopefully if anybody takes anything away from our show, I hope it's the fact that communication isn't about being right or wrong. It's about just getting to know each other and possibly learning new things. That's all. So, and I appreciate all of you for that. And God bless you guys. You're great.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
As always. And we're missing Rex tonight. So we love you, Rex.
Well, hopefully Rex is out there buying that little vase. He's shopping for it somewhere.
He'll find it.
We managed to take care of it, though.
And thank you so much for everyone that has commented. We really appreciate you for that. So
Absolutely.
have a good night. Stay present, you guys. Just remember when you're right now, nothing's better than right now, because right now you have an opportunity to see things different 5 minutes from now. You have that opportunity to change your thoughts and change your life. And it's an amazing thing when you realize that the power is within. It's not with anyone else, but within you. So again, love you guys. Bye.
See y'all.
See ya.
Keeping me safe and sound. And when I